It's not just iMessage. Airstrip One government could ban Apple security updates. What? Why would they want to mess with security updates? It makes no sense. Why? It'll make a lot of sense when we get into it. So everyone in the tech industry facepalms almost every time legislators try to pontificate on technology. But the Airstrip One government appears to be trying to set a new record. After putting iMessage and FaceTime at risk, the government is now suggesting it might ban some Apple security updates. And by the way, for everyone saying Apple sucks anyway, the problem is bigger than Apple. Under the latest plans, tech companies will need to notify the Airstrip One government before rolling out a security fix, but it might be refused permission. And here's the good part. If it blocks a vulnerability that's being exploited by security services. So if the government was exploiting a security issue to break the law, to spy on their population, etc., they're not going to let companies fix it. And here's where it gets funny. If a foreign terrorist or other bad actors were to take advantage of that same security flaw, how much you want to bet the government that prevented Apple from fixing it would hold Apple accountable for that flaw if it gets exploited by someone else? Because I can guarantee you that would happen, because they're damn well not going to take the blame for what they did. No, that's not a very government thing to do. So you know what my suggestion would be? Apple and any other tech company, if they get blocked from fixing security flaws by the government, they should publicize those flaws for everyone to see. Hey, just wanted to let you guys know we got this major flaw. Just be aware of it. The 6-year tale of technical illiteracy. Oh my God, yeah. Governments should not be allowed to legislate shit they understand nothing about. Now, the Airstrip One government's desire to ban end-to-end encryption dates back to at least current year -6. Even 6 years ago, the country's former head of MI5 told them what a dangerous idea that was. The Airstrip One government wants to ban end-to-end encryption altogether, arguing it hampers the work of security services. And see, there's a silver lining to this. What they call security services now have gotten so incompetent that they can't even, like, they do. If they weren't being fed information through social media, they wouldn't know how to do their jobs. Like, they don't know how to investigate anymore. Support for Apple's position in opposition to that of Airstrip One home security and has now come from an unlikely source. In a Big Black Cock Radio 4 interview cited by Gizmodo, former head of a security service, more commonly known as MI5, said that while strong encryption does make the job harder, it's the lesser evil. I think the way cyberspace is being used by criminals and by governments, you already said criminals. Why'd you have to repeat yourself? Is a potential threat to Airstrip One interests more widely, and it's very important that we should be seen as a country where people can operate securely, and that's very important for our commercial interest as well as our national security interest. So encryption is very positive. Oh, of course it is. Like, imagine if they banned encryption and they still had like those data laws like the EU does. The companies would be pulling out because they're like, "Now we're not going to put our other data at risk." Since then, the government has persisted in its nonsensical idea that it's somehow possible to allow it to spy on people without also letting the bad guys do the same, which is exactly what this is going to do. Oh, you can't fix this security flaw because we use it. Like, Russia does it too, though. Okay. So most recently, Apple said it would remove iMessage and FaceTime entirely from Airstrip One rather than remove the end-to-end encryption. For once, I'm on Apple's side. The Apple security updates would require permission. Dude, just leave Airstrip One. The device manufacturers would likely have to notify the government before making available important security updates that fix known vulnerabilities and keep devices secure. Accordingly, the Secretary of State, upon receiving such advance notice, could now request operators to, for instance, abstain from patching security gaps to allow the government to maintain access for surveillance purposes. And every other bad actor that's taking advantage of these same security gaps, yes. There might be ways around this, though, at least until they start bitching about it and start plugging up loopholes, as they call it. They could always... Now, Apple can't do this because Apple is fucking stupid with how they set up their ecosystem, but Google and other device manufacturers, if they're not allowed to patch these flaws themselves officially, they could just release quote unquote unofficial patches that users can apply themselves at their will. Maybe even only make them available outside of Airstrip 1, so they'll need to get VPNs to get them first. What's the Airstrip 1 government going to do then? Again, the sheer stupidity of this cannot be overemphasized. The vast majority of cases, Apple learns about a security vulnerability because someone else discovered it. It might be a security researcher finds it and quietly notifies Apple before a hacker does the same, or it might be that it comes to light when it's exploded in malware. In either case, the longer Apple waits to patch it, the more dangerous it becomes, and patching and not patching is not an option. Yeah, just publicize it. Publicly reveal what the vulnerability is. Now everyone knows it. John Gruber, who drew my attention to the above piece, also returns to iMessage issue due to observe that end-to-end encryption is not a feature that can be switched off or on or off, but is instead fundamental to the design of a messaging app. Unless you want literally everyone to be able to see everything. Just yesterday, we learned that Facebook decided to switch end-to-end encryption for Facebook Messenger. It had to build a completely new version of the app from scratch. It quickly became apparent that transitioning our services to end-to-end encryption would require an incredibly complex and challenging engineering puzzle. We'd have to rewrite almost the entire messaging and calling code base from scratch. Yeah, I think with Facebook, it's extra hard because they still farm your data on these apps. So they'd need to have ways that they can still farm your data. So hospital emergency rooms across Airstrip 1 are likely to be declaring a major incident to deal with the rash of injuries caused by the force of facepalming and banging heads against desks throughout the tech sector. I mean, to be fair, most of the people in the tech sector are pretty damn stupid. So it's not going to matter. But, the smart ones that we know what's going on.